Greetings everyone, this is Danny from harrtravel.com, and we just docked in the beautiful city of Skagway. You got the main street right here. This is Broadway. It's literally the entire town. You head up 6 blocks and you're done. So right behind me you got the train depot, the National Park Service. So join us as we head into town. So one of the things that I love about Skagway is that you dock right in town. Literally all the cruise ships are in front of me. I can see them. There's 4 in town today. And when you go to the end of the pier, you're only about 100 to 200 yards from the heart of downtown. So the National Park Visitor Center is where I would recommend going first and picking up these 2 things. So the first one is history. So anytime you go to any national park site anywhere in the US, they've got a great little historical info sheet here. Got maps, kind of talks about the gold rush, everything else that Skagway is known for. And then also you have this free activities sheet and a map on the back. So some of the free activities, they have a movie that runs on the hour every single hour inside the museum here. You've got the museum, you've got the walking tours. There's 3 different walking tours that had openings right now. We just got into town. But what's great is you can take advantage of all of those. You can learn a lot more about where you're going to be, and you have the experts of the U.S. Park Service. They do a great job. All right, so when you're in Skagway, you definitely don't want to miss the train. So the White Pass Yukon Rail goes from Skagway, from the mouth. This is the dock right behind me, and it went all the way up the Whitehall Pass and into the Yukon. So this was a huge development in the gold rush and also for the development of the entire area. But it's one of the most beautiful scenic trains you can take anywhere in the world. I took it last week with my daughter and my wife and my dad. We had a great time. But what you see is you see waterfalls all over. There's a narrated history as you go up, which I find to be very, very interesting because there's so many different stories of the people that went up, who came here, some for the gold, some to make money off of the miners, and everybody in between. So many unique and different characters that you're going to find in the Old West as well. But there's several different ways you can do it. You can take the train up. Some of them dock right at the cruise ship, right in front of the ships themselves, and then some of them dock here at the depot, but you can take the train up and back. I think that's the most convenient and the easiest way to do it. But you can also take it up with a bus back. It's a little less expensive. You can also take it up and then go into the Yukon as well, where you get a little more exploration. Once again, beautiful, beautiful waterfalls everywhere, scenery, the rivers running underneath you, and then of course these massive railway bridges, the first ones that were built over 100 years ago, and the scenery is just absolutely epic and stunning. You can hear the train starting up right behind me. They're just getting ready to head up the mountain. So right behind me, you're going to find the Skagway Centennial Statue. So this is commemorating the native peoples and of course the first explorers that came and the people that came for the gold rush as well. And the reason it started in 1897 is gold was found in the Yukon. So the Yukon's actually not that far just up that way. But when you're talking about rugged terrain and it's Alaska in the winter, it's actually a really, really long way off. So when they first discovered gold, which is why this city exists in the beginning, the first route was the Chilkoot Trail that would go up through the city of Dyea, which became the largest city in Alaska. And what happened is you got some British investors that came in and they saw the market of getting people to pay to head up the pass. So what they did is they built a train. It took a couple years. It was grueling. Lots of people were killed in the construction of it, as you can imagine. But what they did is they actually linked the sea route with the Yukon. So right here in Skagway, we're right at the end of a fjord, and the docks are actually right in front of me. And so the trains actually could go right up to the docks. And so you'll head up today the same exact way, but the train would go all the way up and over the pass, and then you'd head on all the way to Dawson. So what that did is it made you going by foot, which was nearly impossible. Tons of people died. You had to carry all this equipment with you. The horses weren't prepared for it. It was actually a really, really terrible experience. But it changed everything, and you could get up there. But what they realized not soon after that is that there really wasn't that much gold up there. And so not that many people struck it rich. Like I said, the people that made the most money were the same people that made the money in California. Those are the ones who were selling, had owned little mercantiles, like Levi Strauss, who repurposed tents to make jeans and things like that. But those are the people that made the real money up here. But Skagway was a roaring boom town. Everything that you would expect in an Old West town. Lots of brothels, lots of drinking, lots of partying, and then lots of people being taken advantage of, and a few people that took advantage and maybe committed a few crimes, and a couple of them were really, really notorious. So Skagway has an incredible history, but it all starts and finishes with the Klondike Gold Rush. Okay, so for all you shoppers out there, there's a couple things that you want to know in Skagway. So first off, it's kind of like all the major ports in Alaska, where you really have 3 different options. So one, if you're looking for the big ticket items, they have the Diamonds International, those kind of ships that are kind of backed by the cruise lines. They work with them. They can guarantee the quality, and you can go to your onboard shopping guide to talk about that. They'll give you all the information on it. But most of those are kind of owned by big international conglomerates. You also have kind of the really inexpensive like t-shirt shops. You find those all over Alaska. This is one of the better ones in Skagway, where you can get really, really inexpensive expensive souvenirs, and I always say they're the souvenirs that you expect to get and that people expect when you get back. Like, you know, Grandma and Grandpa went to Alaska and I got the shirt and the books and all those kind of things like that. And then the third option is the one that I really, really like the most, but of course shopping local. There's some great artisans, some local bakeries, lots of local shops here that you can help support when you're here in port as well. But overall, it's a great city to shop in because everything is right downtown and right compact. You may not have quite as big of an assortment of different kinds of shops as Juneau or one of the bigger cities, but here you're going to find everything right in this spot. Now we're on Broadway Street in Skagway, the main street. If you blink, go up a couple blocks, you've already gone through the entire town. But I wanted to point out the Red Onion Saloon because I mentioned earlier that some people did strike it rich in the gold rush, and it was people that owned places like this. So this was a brothel and a bar or saloon, went through a couple different owners, but people made quite a bit of money off of things like that. One little fun story with that, they always refer to the Liarsville camp because a lot of the newspaper reporters were sent from back east and even from California to come up and report on the gold rush. And what they did is they actually just kind of set up shop here in town. A lot of them visited these places quite often, and then they would make up these stories or take stories from the people in the gold rush who were coming back down, the prospectors, and then they would tell their editors that they were actually writing these stories from Dawson, from Bennett, from the different parts of the Yukon. So they dubbed it the Liarsville camp, and today still, whatever your opinion is on the on the media, that was their opinion on it back then. So one of my favorite things to do on an Alaska cruise is to eat our way through Alaska. So I usually start with the best chowder that you have in town, seafood chowder, clam chowder, something like that. And then we usually find local Alaska Brewing Company beers, or in Skagway, we got the Skagway Brewing Company. But one of our favorite things here is the Klondike Doughboy. You can see why. Fried bread, lots of sugar. It's really good. And then my wife's really happy too because the quilt shop is just behind us. Got a few patterns for her as well. So everybody is happy on 3rd Street in Skagway. Sugar-free, fat-free, guilt-free. Exactly. That is a vacation piece of dough if I've ever seen one.
Hey everybody, my name is Taylor, and you probably don't know me because I'm usually behind the camera, but I'm the Harr Travel official coffee snob, and I wanted to tell you my 2 favorite places to get a cup of coffee in Skagway. First being Bites on Broadway, right behind me. We're still on Broadway. And then the other is Glacier Smoothies and Espresso, which is right down the street. I believe it's on 3rd Avenue, right next to the donut shop that Danny showed you earlier. But those are my 2 favorite places to get a cup of joe in Skagway. Check them out.
So there's a ton of really cool things to do with kids in Skagway. So one, the whole city is kind of like an old-timey, ghost town, old saloon town kind of thing. And so they love that in general. But also there's a couple of activities that tie into that. So one would be panning for gold. You can do that as an excursion. There's a couple different ways. Another one is you can head up to the Klondike Cemetery. That's really, really cool. And it has a little hike for it. And then also there's a waterfall up there as well. But you can also, in town, just a couple hundred yards from the cruise ship, you have the National Park Center. It's the Junior Ranger Activity Center. What's unique about this one is the only one in the entire service that is in an old saloon. So the Pantheon is an old saloon. Inside there's a lot of cool activities for kids to do where they can learn more about the Klondike Gold Rush. They can even try on clothes from the time, explore with iPads and things like that. You can also earn activity badges and gold nuggets. And then if you're in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, you can actually work towards your badges as well. So a lot of fun things to do for kids in Skagway. And once again, this is 100% free because it's run by the National Park Service. So in addition to the Visitor Center and the Junior Ranger Center, you also have the Trail Center here from the National Park Service. So this is actually where you go to get the permits and things like that you would need to hike the different trails. They have a ton of information. They can give you all of that you need. Also, they have a representative for Parks Canada in there as well, because as you get up to the top of the pass, you're going to cross over into Canada. So any of the information you need on hiking these trails, you'll get right here behind me. I'm currently in front of the Skagway Brewing Company that we just stopped by for a quick beer and lunch. So it's one of the favorite stops in Skagway. The beer is fantastic. Of course, it's a brewery, so they brew it themselves. They're probably most well known for their Spruce Tip Blonde. Really, really fantastic. It's unique to the area, so I definitely recommend that you check it out. And on top of that, they have fantastic fish and chips and all the pub fare you would expect. But the pub cheese soup is really, really out of this world. So if you're in Skagway and you want a quick bite to eat after your excursion or maybe before the next one, this is the perfect place, Skagway Brewing Company. So currently we're on Broadway and 5th in Skagway. We've gone up 5 blocks, which means we've almost made it all the way through the city. There's just a couple other paths here. But I wanted to point out Corrington's, because one thing that's really important to us, being a small locally owned business myself, is always supporting locally owned businesses wherever we go to shop. So they've got some great t-shirts in there. They also have some unique one-of-a-kind gifts. They've been in business for over 40 years. And once again, I'll mention it again, they are locally owned. The other thing that I love is they partner with some other local companies like Alaska Rug Company that repurposes old fishing gear and rope and things like that to make really unique one-of-a-kind gifts. So when you're in Skagway, if you're looking to shop local and you're looking for some really cool stuff, check out Corrington's. So when you're in Skagway, you definitely want to do a shore excursion. There's a lot of great stuff around town that we've already talked about, but you're definitely gonna want to do a shore excursion. So the biggest, most popular, and one of my favorites in all of Alaska would be the White Pass and Yukon train. So there's a couple different options there. We talked about it already, but the tracks are just behind me. You take the train straight up from the center of town. So another great option, and I think it's the best zip line on all of the Alaska cruises, would be the Grizzly Falls Zip Line and Adventure Park. Done that a couple times myself. It's really excellent. You of course have canoeing and kayaking, but some of the best options here are to get right out of the city right away on an excursion. So one of them would be to take the ferry over to Haines. We have an excursion that we use all the time where it goes up into the Chilkat Bald Eagle and Wilderness Preserve. Really stunningly beautiful, and there's nobody out there. So when we headed up the other day, it was basically just us and the birds and the guides. It was really fantastic. And then of course you can also do a glacier safari where you head out by boat, once again towards Haines, the Lynn Canal, and then you also get up into the Tongass National Forest. So lots of great excursions. One bonus one just to put on the very top that a lot of people really like would be the dog sledding, where you actually go by helicopter, land on a glacier, and then dog sled from there. They have it in Juneau as well, but what's great is you leave from the helicopters right by the cruise ships. They're right downtown here. So Skagway is incredibly convenient for excursions. Whatever you're choosing to do, you'll probably leave from the ship or just in front of the ship. Have an amazing time wherever you choose. All right, so if you're looking to complete your Skagway experience, you want something very entertaining, you got the Days of '98 show here. It's the old saloon style, Wild West kind of show, ragtime. You can see the ladies up in the window here calling everybody. Been going on for over 100 years here. So once again, if you want to wrap up your Skagway experience with a fun show, Days of '98, they have shows about every 2 hours here, and you're gonna love it. All right, so one more fun thing to do with kids. We're on 6th Street. This is the Molly Walsh Park. It just got totally renovated. Great bathrooms nearby, which I love. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. But a huge public park, and everywhere we go in the world, Ava's been all over the world, 10 different countries. We always try to find a really cool park where you can sit back, relax, everybody has fun, and then you meet really cool people. Thank you so much for joining us on this tour of this beautiful town of Skagway. So whether you're going to do an excursion as soon as you get here, explore the town, or just enjoy it as you like, when you're ready to book your next cruise to Alaska, whether it's on one of the mega ships, the Disney Wonder, which we're here on today, one of the small ultra luxury ships, reach out to harrtravel.com. We'll figure out exactly what it is that you're looking for, and we'll plan the perfect vacation for you and your family.